Because I realized that what was living behind that boy's eyes was purely and simply evil.
You thought the game was over, but it's only just begun. Hello, everyone. It's time to play a game.
Welcome to Massacre, known as Safe. I hope everyone's having a fantastic day today. So we're going to go over more Saw 10 news. Really, the director, Kevin Guthrie, that is directing this film. If you guys don't know, Kevin Guthrie did direct Saw 6, one of my favorites, and directed Saw, the final chapter, and very excited. He talked to a couple magazines. We've been kind of going after news the past couple days on this, more information on this film going forward, and I think there's a few things, even more information. So what we know so far as of right now is this movie is one of the longest movies. This is one of the longest movies that John Kramer is going to be in. His physical character being in a film is the longest we are ever going to see. Jigsaw's most personal game yet, which is very exciting here. Now, a new poster did come out, and very excited. An interesting poster. We have the original Hacksaw, which is this coming back to the film. We have a heart, and we have an eyeball. The eyeball could represent a trap. The heart could maybe represent another trap. Or, you know, and then, I don't know. I mean, I don't know what this beats. I don't know what this beats at all. But I love the poster. I love it. It's awesome. It could mean a lot of different things. It could be maybe this, maybe it involves 3 different traps. It can involve the emotions you're going to see in this. Maybe you see a lot of things. Maybe you feel a lot of things in your heart that's going to hurt. Maybe someone's going to hack their own leg off. I have no idea. I'm just taking a complete guess on this, but cool that they're coming out with posters still for this, and very excited. But nothing beats the actual original poster with the eye trap, which is obviously one of my favorites going into this whole thing. Now, Kevin Guthrie had a lot to say about this movie and really going forward. He threw some shade today, guys, at Saw Spiral. Okay, he said they tried to make the last Saw without Tobin, Greutert says, and to me, that was pretty gutsy move. That's a very tactical euphemism for definitely not what I would have done there. Okay, he said during this interview, okay, to Magazine, okay, to Empire, he said that you cannot have a Saw movie without Tobin Bell, and that is 100% true. And I'm not saying that down the road, because Tobin Bell is 81 years old. He's not a spring chicken anymore, but at the same time, what does Tobin Bell really have to do in these films to really, you know what I mean? What does he have to do physically? Really not much of anything. The most physical he's probably been was probably, I don't know, when he was running from Detective Tapp, if that was even him at that point when he was running through the hallways, when, he killed Tapp's partner in the hallway with the shotguns on the ceiling or something like that. So, I mean, as long as he has the voice and he could still speak his lines and he could still act the way he can act. I've watched a lot of movies with Tobin Bell recently, and to be honest, like, Tobin Bell is not one of those really, like, he's not very rangy with his acting. Kind of sounds the same in every movie he's in, but I think for one of, this was horror porn. I mean, literally, the creators of Saw invented this. This is how it all started when it came to traps, when it came to trap horror type gory movies like this, and you have to feel pretty proud of that, and Tobin Bell was a big part of that. So the Saw movie, look, the Saw Spiral movie, I can understand a lot of different things. I would keep it as a standalone film. Is it good as a standalone film? 100%. Is it good for a connection to the Saw story? No. I want that Saw Spiral movie cut out from the Saw story. This is just a different killer, different, obviously, person, a different, copycat John Kramer that's, just doing his own game, just another, timeline of the Saw universe, inside the Saw universe. And that's how I would keep that film as of right now. You know what I mean? I don't want to go too far with that. But Kevin Guthrie seems like he really wants to take over this franchise again, and probably had so much fun doing this. And obviously, Tobin Bell is always going to come back if he wants. I don't think Tobin Bell really turns down these roles, because Lionsgate is paying him ridiculous money to be the star of the show, especially this film. where he's going to be seen the most out of any Saw film. Okay, so I thought that was really interesting. And, you know, in other aspects too, Kevin Guthrie even talked about a potential Saw sequel, another one. Okay, he didn't say what it was going to be. He's not going to announce anything, but he says if this Saw 10 does really well and it's very successful, which in my opinion, I think it's going to, Tobin Bell is going to put asses in the seats regardless. But do I worry this movie's going to be bad? Maybe a little tiny bit, but to be honest with you, I feel so emotionally driven by this film in a lot of ways, and we'll get to the next segment on what type of fans are going to see this movie for obviously new people that are introduced to the Saw franchise, which I think is really interesting. Now, Kevin Guthrie did talk about the gore in this film, how much back to the roots it is going. And I think when it comes to the looks of everything, it's going back to the roots. So Kevin Guthrie said, Saw X is an emotional journey that you go on with John Kramer and less slaughterhouse that you experience from a point of view of the victims. Obviously, there will be people that can't handle it, but I think has a good chance of appealing to people beyond gore freaks. Don't worry, though, gore freaks. We're willing to bet you'll be more than catered to as well. So we know that this is going to be a gory film. Is it going to be the goriest Saw film? Probably not. You know, but we'll see. You know what I mean? Well, I'll check to see. But I think when it comes down to it, there's going to be two different types of fans that are seeing this film. The new fans that just want to see gore and just never seen Saw, want to see what this is all about and just kind of go through it, you know, blindly. The other type of fans, which is definitely me, I'm kind of both fans, but the next fan I am is really the one that's emotionally invested into John Kramer and invested in his story, because as we know so far, we're not seeing the background. You know how in every Saw film we go through the plot of the victims and what they did in the past and the bad things that they've done. And we're not going through all that because we know this is a quote-unquote straightforward story of Saw 10. This is straightforward. Obviously, con artists that are getting, stealing money from people that are in need of, dire emergency surgeries, and they mess with the wrong man in Jigsaw / John Kramer, okay? I think that's really important. To us fans that have been around this thing since early 2000s, okay? Really, I was in 6th, 7th grade when the first movie came out, and watched it and was terrified of it. And to be honest with you guys, like, the John Kramer story has always just embedded in my brain for a long time. We've always kept Tobin's presence throughout the rest of the Saw films after Saw 3, but we have to, I think they did such a good job in doing that, where physically, he wasn't there. Physically, we saw a lot of flashbacks. We saw a lot of things that Jigsaw did before he died. Obviously, giving Jill, his will and what to do, and making sure that she was going to be okay, which obviously she wasn't. But to kind of protect his interests and protect his family and protect himself and his legacy going forward. And Mark Hoffman being, obviously turning point at in the story and turning from bad to worse, really, and not following Jigsaw's philosophy and really, paying the price for it at the end. And I think that's going to be awesome. You know what I mean? So when it comes down to it, I am emotionally invested in. We're going to be seeing a full movie of John Kramer as a person, not a flashback of John Kramer being John Kramer visiting a doctor. We're actually going to see a full-fledged movie of his transition, which we already know he's been in the transition because this is in between Saw 1 and Saw 2. So he's already became Jigsaw at this point, but the humanizing side of John Kramer, just doing the right thing as a normal human being, getting his surgery that he really needs for $250,000 and not knowing he is going to get scammed, and those doctors not knowing that they are literally messing with the wrong dude, which I think that's pretty exciting. And the gore is going to be there, guys. There's going to be gore here. I'm not really going into this film saying, I need gore. I need this to be the goriest. No, I'm not into, I get it. Like, we've seen it a million times. I'm not worried about it. As long as I see some guys paying the price for what they did to Jigsaw, because this is the hero of the movie. This is the hero. Kevin Guthrie is making John Kramer the hero of this film. And we're going to be rooting for him all game. All this game, all movie, we're going to be rooting for him, which I'm pretty excited for. Now, Kevin Guthrie does explain this is more of a grounded movie. Says that won't be the only change this time around. According to Greutert, this film are also a bit more grounded than previous installments. This one has pulled back to a somewhat more realistic level. Not maybe Saw 1 level simplicity, but close. The more that the audience can get the sense that a smart engineer, which he is, could figure out what to do with these parts and make it work, the better. So interesting enough, like, it's going to be interesting to see how he goes to Mexico. How does he find this empty building? You know, obviously Amanda helps. Does Mark Hoffman help? Obviously, because Mark Hoffman's the one that was really building a lot of these traps before, you know, and Jigsaw was building some of these traps too as well before he got in his wheelchair, and he really couldn't do much of anything. So the only time we've seen, like, these, you know, things being built was really when we saw the scene with Amanda and Mark Hoffman, you know, working on the Timothy trap, the one that it twists his whole body, his arms, his head, and his legs. The rack trap, which is one of Jigsaw's favorites. That was really the only scene we've seen. A couple little seeds of traps that we've seen being built, but not a full segment of, you know, because I like this whole thing that it's in Mexico because nobody knows who John Kramer is in Mexico. No one has any idea. So when he goes to Mexico, finds this, you know, he finds out, he goes back to Mexico, finds out he's getting scammed, obviously, you know, finds out his test results, he's going to die in a few months or whatever's going on, goes back to Mexico, outside Mexico, and finds an empty building, and builds these traps. Obviously, Amanda is going to be helping. She is full pledged to him at this point and is looking up to him as a father figure and a leader. And Mark Hoffman is, you know, this is his early years of being with Jigsaw, and obviously he is, you know, at this point of being a huge fan as well, and is helping him and probably building a lot of these things too. So hoping to see both of them, and maybe, you know, John Kramer is building some of these traps, most likely. You saw him in one of the scenes in the official trailer where he's like kind of doing something, he's kind of twisting something at a work table, which we did see as well. So I thought that was pretty cool. But this is it's going to be a more grounded movie, a more straightforward story. Not much background. I don't really care about the background of all of these doctors. It doesn't make us. We've already been down this rabbit hole again and again and again, and I don't mind going through it over and over again. But this is a movie towards John Kramer's most personal game, and the reason why that he couldn't get his cancer because of him getting con artists going after him at this point and trying to steal his money, and they pay the price for it, no doubt. So I thought there was a lot of really good information here, a well-grounded story. The gore is going to be there, but there's going to be two types of fans seeing this movie: fans that are emotionally invested in John Kramer's story, which is, this is heavily going to be a John Kramer movie, the longest he has ever been in a film, which will hopefully we see Jill, we see his wife, we see maybe the downfall of their relationship, something like that. And then see what he does in Mexico and how he gets them, how he catches all of these. Obviously, Amanda helps in catching all of these doctors and putting all these people in traps, which are really excited. And I love that Kevin Guthrie did talk about a potential Saw sequel. Don't know what's the sequel going to be to, but he did say if this movie is successful, expect that another one's going to be made. And I think he wants to continue this. I think Kevin Guthrie is the right man for the job. Saw 6 was fantastic, and Saw the final chapter I absolutely loved. So I'm not really worried about the direction this movie is going to. If this is going to be a little different than the other movies, I kind of expect it to when it's really in relation to full-fledged John Kramer and not making it a repeat every single movie. This is going to be a more emotional. I mean, we're going to see John Kramer, Jigsaw. We're going to see him emotional. We're going to see him crying. We're going to see a lot of things. We're going to feel bad for him, and we're going to want him to get some revenge. And I think I'm going to be rooting for this guy the whole entire movie. And I think that we had some really good information there. So I think those are two different types of fans. Obviously, new fans are going to just want gore, and like I'm all for gore. There's no doubt. But I am heavily invested in the king of horror. Okay, and John Kramer to be back, Tobin Bell to be back, and doing this whole thing is just amazing, and can't wait for it. So let me know what you guys are excited for. And by the way, Kevin Guthrie actually has a YouTube channel, and if you haven't, definitely subscribe. He just put up a YouTube channel the other day, brand new, I think this morning. So I'll put his link for his YouTube channel in the description below. Maybe he'll have some updates. Maybe he'll have some behind the scenes of Saw 10, something like that. And if it's there, I will definitely report all that stuff to you guys for more Saw 10 films down the way. But so far, this movie is sounding absolutely amazing. I can't wait for it. And I want to see pure Tobin Bell, pure Jigsaw, pure John Kramer getting the most screen time as possible, making this his most personal game and making it a little different than the other Saw movies, but keeping the originality there. There will be a couple things that are different, but because this is so focused on Tobin Bell, it's going to be different, but in a very big positive way, and that's perfectly fine with me. The more Jigsaw, the more Tobin Bell we see in this film, the better it's going to be, and I cannot wait to see the up and close personal that he's going to be with everybody. So you guys let me know in the comment section below what you guys think. I'll see you guys on the next one. Keep running. Peace out.